Welcome to Sunforce Media, the preaching and teaching ministry of Dr. Rick Hunter. Please subscribe and forward the link to people that you study with, your friends, your family, people at work that you want to study with or interact with over a Bible study, kind of like when gamers do their games with people that are different locations. They looking at the same thing and play on the games. We'll put them onto the channel, and both of you watch at the same time, watch and then discuss it, pull it apart, see how it blesses your life, see what you can add to it, see how it works for you. That's a great way to do it. This will be this channel, our lessons, focus studies, sermons, ministry initiatives of the gospel of Christ and about the work that we're doing globally. We encourage and always love your support and need it, your positive energy. In the next video or two, we're going to be posting how you can support this ministry, and we appreciate that, the various ways that you can do it. We'll bring it up, but now just enjoy the videos. But the work that we are doing and are going forward with needs your support, especially as we go forward globally, and especially as we try to meet the needs of ministers and congregations and people that we're working with. But most of all, each individual listener, as you become a part of this church family that we are building. Thank you so much for that. We'll be posting that, how to support it, but right now, keep those prayers and energy going. The message that we're going to launch into in a short capsulized form today is, why did Jesus weep? Why did Jesus weep? And we remember this at the death of Lazarus. So you're very aware of this text. You know what it's all about. We're in the book of John, chapter 11, and we're going to be reading beginning at about verse number 32, and I'm just going to kind of read through it. But the question that I want to stick in your mind is, why did Jesus weep? If you knew you had the power to change the condition of a person or a situation, you knew you had the power, and you knew you had the emotional wherewithal and characteristics to change it, and you knew you were going to do it, why would you cry with them over the problem? Why would you cry with them? Doesn't make more sense, or hasn't made more sense, or wouldn't most people just solve the problem and then ask, okay, well, why are you crying? We have solved the problem. But sometimes in this battle, in this life, in this journey, in this life, it's not just the solving of the problem. Okay, nod your heads with me if you're starting to feel this, so you're going along with it. It's not just moving through the problem, but it's the feeling and emotion that goes along with it. Sometimes you just don't need for the problem to be solved, but you need to have a good cry over it because you have been hurt. You have hurt someone. You need to have a good cry to get those emotions out, to get them worked out and not get trapped in. And we're hearing much about the emotional strength and need of people, and a lot for men to be able to let go of their emotions in a positive way, and not bow down to that concept of you're a man, so you don't have to feel this, or you're a man, you don't feel that. You man up and you go out there and you deal with this thing and you get straight, and not realizing that you're suffering on the inside, or something has been torn up inside your mind that can't get back right. That's something that keeps a life of its own going on there, that keeps struggle and tension, and may force you or send you into reacting and acting in unkind, uncaring, unethical, immoral ways in the way that you move around people. And there's a lot because you're dysfunctional on the inside, not because there's a chemical imbalance or some problem, but it's the fact that you have never been able to let out the emotions of hurt. You've never been able to tell anybody how you hurt or show that you hurt, not show in a violent or mean way, but just you had to smile, you had to grin and bear it, and you had to go on. So why did Jesus weep? Verse number 32, John chapter 11. John says this. Then when Mary came where Jesus was and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying to him, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Therefore, when Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her weeping, he groaned in the spirit and was troubled. Groaned in the spirit and was troubled. Christ was angry over what sin was doing in this world. He was angered over what sin was causing to happen in the lives of his people, those that he created, those that he loved. And he said, where have you laid him? And they said to him, Lord, come and see. Where have you laid him? Lord, come and see. Jesus wept. That's the verse when we have to pray over dinner, something like that. That's the verse that we learn quickest so we can get from being hungry to being full. And they said, okay, Rick, it's time for you to pray. Jesus wept. Amen. Let's go. Let's eat. We all know how that works. When somebody says pray and it's been a long day, a lot of conferences, stuff like that, thank you, Jesus. Jesus wept. Let's go. Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, see how he loved him. Look at Jesus crying over Lazarus. See how he loved him. And some of them said, could not this man who opened the eyes of the blind also have kept this man from dying? And there is literally always going to be a naysayer among your group. You know, the little clique you hang with, the group you run with, your affirmation partners, however you look at it, there's always a naysayer in that group. In your church body, when you get ready to do something, when you get ready to grow, when you get ready to start thinking about what God is doing in a bigger sense than your church, or when you start thinking about how you live out the gospel of Christ in real life, in real times, what this means, what it means in your home, there's always somebody that's coming up with something else. Isn't he the one, that one there? Could not the man who opened the eyes of the blind have kept him from dying? In other words, if Christ did this, why couldn't he do that? Why didn't he do that? Well, that's interesting. Why does your neighbor seem to have no problems, and you seem to have a new problem every week? Is it because you're not a good person? Is it because you're not trying to be a good person? Is it that you're doing crazy stuff? Is it that you are crazy? What is the situation? No, you could be doing your best at your best, and the floor seems to start falling out from underneath you, or problems just keep cropping up out there in your lives. Jesus wept. Then Jesus again groaning, verse 38, then Jesus again groaning in himself came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone lay against it. Jesus said, take away the stone. Martha and the sister of him who was dead said to him, Lord, by this time there is a stench, for he has been dead 4 days. He's been dead 4 days. Jesus said to her, did I not say to you that if you would believe, you would see the glory of God? Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead man was lying. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. And I know that you always hear me. But because of the people who are standing by, I said this, that they may believe that you sent me. Now, when he had said these things, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. And he who had died came out, bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was wrapped with a cloth. Jesus said to them, loose him and let him go. Loose him and let him go. This is powerful. Why did Jesus weep? First of all, Jesus was encouraging them to believe his word no matter how discouraging the circumstances might appear. Jesus was encouraging the people to believe his word no matter how disgusting, how discouraging the circumstances were, no matter how struggle it gets around you. Don't give up on God. No matter how bad this looks, don't give up on God. No matter what's going on in our nation, in our city, in our struggles, don't give up on God. There are people who will always ask you, well, if there's a God, why did this happen? How does this keep happening? How is that? Is God doing this? Don't give up on God. That's the first thing that you want to make sure stays in your life. Don't give up on God. And then Jesus is moving us forward in a greater, better way. When we look at the text, it said his spirit groaned within him. He was troubled. He was angry at what sin is doing in this world, which lets us know he's not happy with it, but he allows it to the glory of God. He allows it to what he's done, what he is doing in creation. And then he wept. But remember, although Jesus wept, Jesus wept, Jesus wept, Jesus wept. Revelation chapter 7, verse 17. You remember what that says? Revelation 7, verse 17. Revelation 7:17. God shall wipe away all tears. And so although he wept here, and although we weep here, don't think we're going to cry always. Don't think you're going to be in the middle of this problem always, because he said in Revelation, he's going to wipe away all tears, which means the things that we go through, God is in the process of clearing and cleaning them up. Jesus wept, but he's not going to weep always. We weep because we're human. We have emotions. We have feelings. We hurt. We hurt people. People hurt us. Sometimes they never correct it, and sometimes they double down on it, and sometimes they hurt us and don't know they've hurt us. They go after us. Just look around us. So he wept. And then they attacked him. If Jesus has all power, why is this man dead? Obviously, he is not who he says he is, or either he is a perpetrator or a charlatan, when in fact the reason they asked the question is because he was doing miracles. And so the challenges in your life, the people around you, you know, you go to church all the time, you give of your offering, you help feed the poor, you help with the ministry, the church, you help this and that and the other. Why are your kids so bad? Why is your marriage? Why is this? Why is your job? Why is that, as if one is inextricably tied with the other? And so our problem is Jesus wept because he enters into our pain. When we go through it, Jesus cries with us because he enters into our pain. Not because of the fact the pain is going to be there always, although it could, but he enters into that pain with us because he's in the process of healing us. He wants to know that he cares. Sometimes you have a friend, someone you walk with, a loved one, somebody you work with that's going through it, and sometimes they just need a good cry. They just need somebody to sit down. Many of you remember, if you were into black art, or you can just see it online, just Google it. There's a picture that's very prominent of two little girls that look like they're sitting on a curb with their arms around each other, you know, over each other's shoulders, and they're just crying. And one is sat down and crying. In other words, you know what you need right now is for me to walk with you in your pain, you know, and they just kind of have their arms around each other and supporting. And sometimes you don't need somebody else to try to fix the problem. You need just to let it out. You need to figure out, where did this come from? Why is it feeling this way? You know, am I going to get better? I know I can be better. And you just need somebody to cry with you and move forward. And you need to let somebody know that you hurt me. I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm not going to go crazy. I'm not going to do any of that. But you hurt me deeply. And I need you to know that. I need to know that for my sanity. So Jesus wept. And he wept because he wanted to heal. And he was going to heal. But he wanted to make sure that they knew God's power, what God was already about, what God was going to do. And then he says, at verse number 40, Jesus said to her, "Did I not say to you that if you would believe, you would see the glory of God?" Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead man was lying, and Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me, and I know that you always hear me because of the people who was standing by us said this, that they may believe that you sent me. Now, when he had said these things, he said, Lazarus, come forth. But then back at verse number 38, when Jesus said, take away the stone, Martha, the sister of him who was dead, said to him, Lord, by this time there is a stench, for he has been dead 4 days. There's a teaching in Judaism that when a person died, their spirit did not directly go back to God, but that it hovered over the body. That it hovered over the body. And the teaching was that the spirit hovered over the body for 4 days. And so in John writing this, he's allowing us to know that what Christ was doing, what Jesus was doing, was letting the people know that it's not that the spirit is still there waiting to be resuscitated. When Jesus was talking to them, that 4-day period was important because he was letting them know the spirit is already gone. According to your teaching, the spirit is already gone, so he is dead. And so what you're legitimately going to see is a miracle. I'm going to restore him. And the power that we get from that is that God can meet us wherever we are, and God can bring us through. And so don't ever think there's a place that you can get to with a problem, with an addiction, with a problem child, with a work environment that's beating you down or that looks like it's going to devastate the economics of the area. God said, there's not a place that you are that I cannot reach you and bring you back or make you whole or bring you to the end of this problem. Why did he weep? Because he wanted them to know that I am your God. I feel what you feel. I know what you're going through. I know the struggles that you are. But I'm here to help. I'm here to bless. So he went through, he let that happen. And then when Lazarus was resurrected, he said, take the clothes off of me. Take the grave clothes off. Take the grave clothes off. Loose him and let him go. So Jesus weeps with us because he's in a healing position in this world. He wants us to know that we're not alone, but that we're going to hurt through this. And so these are the things that we've learned in this message that I want you to think about. First of all, there's the perplexity, the doubt that Jesus could raise Lazarus. So people were perplexed. And then there's the problem. The problem was that Lazarus was dead. And then there was the promise, I will raise Lazarus. And then there was the prayer for the people. And then there was the power of God to raise him. And Jesus wept because we're constantly going in and out of problems in this world. If we don't have a mechanism that allows us to release the frustrations and the pent-up problems and the hurt, whether we have hurt someone or they've hurt us, to be able to release it and straighten it up, we walk around with a chip on our shoulder. We walk around halfway in between the here and the now and the past. We walk around in a dead space, not really alive, not really dead. But Jesus says that I wept. I wept there. Or John said that in Jesus walking with us, that Jesus wept. What he wanted us to know is that he feels our pain, like he feels your pain. If you're struggling with this, then what you do with your life and yourself is understand that God hasn't abandoned you. You're not the least and the lost. You're not at the back of the line. You're not cast out. Don't feel that way. If you have emotions inside and they're really getting the best of you, depression starting to set in, don't give up on what God can do. Certainly, if there's a clinical problem, then make sure that you get involved with the clinicians and the medical that is essential. But also remember that the frustration we cause ourselves and that we live in, the hell that we live in, a lot of it is due to the fact that we bottle up inside. We don't let God do for us what we try to do for others. So you live in that blessings. Why did Jesus weep? Have a great week as you talk and share with others about what God is doing in your life, and we'll see you next time.